Good evening. Lag B'Yom Tavshin Pei Gimel. Shkoyach to Ari for putting this together, and to our anonymous sponsor, our anonymous sponsor of different food items. Anonymous, big matria. Anonymous. Okay. The I think maybe we'd look at the few Gemaras about Shim Yochai and see what we can be machadish, and Baruch Hashem Edam for little Siyat Ishmaya to come up with something. And I think Baruch Hashem came up with some interesting things. Just at a klalistic level, Lag Ba'omer is a man that is a little bit misunderstood as to why it's or not so well, I shouldn't say misunderstood, but on some level misunderstood as to what's going on tonight. So it's brought down that tonight is possibly Lag Ba'omer is possibly the yahrzeit of Shim Yochai. It's not so pashut that it is, and there are those that sort of like laugh at the people. There are people from the more modern world that would laugh at the Hasidim who are all dancing Lag Ba'omer because they say it's a yahrzeit of Shim Yochai, when it's not, or maybe it's not. It's not so clear. It is. Is this one big mistake? And if you're from the more modern world, you say, "Oh, it's a mistake. They don't know what to do, and we know what we're doing." As they flip through as they channel surf on Lag Ba'omer night instead of going out to Maduras, knowing that they've seen the light. They've seen the light, and anyone that's going out and celebrating is really just caught up in some sort of error. When do they celebrate his yahrzeit? You want to know? If we don't know, so we can't celebrate it. But what's the answer? The answer is it's for sure that Rizal brings down that Lag Ba'omer is his man of Simcha Shemei Yochai. That's for sure Lag Ba'omer. So is it his yahrzeit? Maybe it's not the day he died. Right? Is it his birthday? Maybe it's the day he was born. Maybe it's the day he came out of the Mara. Whatever it is, Lag Ba'omer has to do with the chidushim of Shemei Yochai. So whether historically you could determine that it's the day that he left this world, the day that he said the Idra, right? Which is clearly what went on the day he was nifter. Whether it wasn't that day, whatever it is, the Arizal tells us that Lag Ba'omer is a day that something about the iris of Lag Ba'omer have to do with Rav Shimon Yochai and the previous that he was Megala. So whether it was technically his yahrzeit, was the day that the Idra Rab was written, or not, who knows? Okay, but at the end of the day, the Yesh Dvar Legav. If Tzaddikim are celebrating, if Klal Yisrael is the people that have a ruach for kedusha and Tyre and Shifas for connecting to the pnimis of the vet, which is Einoi Mavadei, they're coming alive on Lag Ba'omer. Don't machavek Lag Ba'omer, but Lag Ba'omer is a chaperein, whether it's technically this or technically not a yahrzeit. So let's talk a little bit about Shimon Yochai, and the best place to start is with the Sugyas and the Gemara that talk about Sfira and talk about Lag Ba'omer. So famously, the story of Rav Shimon Yochai in the Ma'ara is Daf Lamed Gimel in Masechah Shabbos. Easy Ma'armakim to remember, and just read the story inside and make a few ha'aras on it. The Maisa was that there were tzaddikim. They were talking about this was after the Churban, and the Romans were in charge of Eretz Yisrael, and they sort of you had to be careful living in Eretz Yisrael under the rule of the Romans at that point. And there were different tzaddikim, different Tanaim were sitting around. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon Yochai, right? And Rabbi Yehuda he compliments the Romans. They're such nice people. They make such beautiful commerce, such beautiful shvakim and markets and bridges and bathhouses. Rabbi Yossi wasn't very pleased with that. He was complimenting the Romans. He was quiet. Rabbi Shimon Yochai was outspoken, and he says, "Nein, the emphasis is all baloney. Everything they're doing is for themselves. They just all they want is Yetzer Hara. Everything is for the Zionists. They made shvakim for Zionists. Their merchatzos is because they just want Olam Hazeh, and the bridges they make is a tax. Is a way to collect taxes. Because the word got out that Rabbi Shimon Yochai was talking uncomplimentary, unflattering about the Romans, and they decided that they're going to kill him. So Rabbi Shimon Yochai has to run away, and he runs away into the Mara. Who accompanies with him? Right, his son Rabbi Shimon. So Rabbi Shor said over a while back. Last episode, Rabbi Shimon sat in the Mara for 12 years of Shimon Yochai. But Reb Shimon was, there was no Gezer on him, there was a Gezer on Reb Shimon Yochai. Right? So what's happened to Reb Shimon and his son stayed with him for 12 years? What's the answer? Pasha, keep it avehim. The father needs to be in a Gemara. He needs company. He needs a chavrusa. He needs someone to tempt him, right? So, can you imagine the kibbut aveim of a son accompanies his father into bar and invites you to leave? You would have thought you'd come every day, jump off the food. No, but once you're there, you wouldn't be able to, to blow his cover. So once you're there, and he checked in with him for 12 years, and their schedule was exactly the same thing. Gemara tells us that they go into the Ma'ara, and so they hit it in the Ma'ara, and Israchash Nisa Ivrilu Charuva Me'ena Devaya. There was a mace happened, and what happened? A carabchi was created, and a spring of water was created. And they removed the clothing, and they sat up into their shoulders, up to the necks, in the sand. The entire day they sat and learned. When it came time to daven, they got dressed, they covered themselves. I'm not sure what double ocean is, and they davened, and then they undressed again and went back into the ground. They had to reserve the clothing. Okay, so let's make it just a few ha'aras over here. Reb Shimon Yochai is going to the Ma'ara, and l'chayr it's pashut that this idea of Reb Shimon Yochai going to the Ma'ara, this was the turning point of Reb Shimon Yochai being transformed into the Reb Shimon Yochai that we know him as. Reb Shimon Yochai until that point was a Talmud Chacham. I'm sure he was learning a lot of nigla, right? As far as I imagine, I think it's pashut that Reb Shimon Yochai's transformation into the Baal HaNistar that he was his experience in the Ma'ara. I think that's clear. Reb Shimon Yochai and the celebration we have in Lag BaOmer is celebrating a Olam Chadash that Reb Shimon Yochai was Megala. Okay, the world had a certain connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Torah, right? The connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world is only through Torah. When Reb Shimon Yochai is bringing a pnimius to the Torah, a greater understanding to the Torah, so really what he's really doing is, his whole avodah is really peeling away layers of the world and exposing more kedusha in the world. He's really taking the entire world and upgrading it. It's an upgrade to the entire world. It's an olam chadash that Shimon Yochai is out to be boirei. So I was thinking as follows. We know before. I think I mentioned this last time. I'm not sure if we got it on any recordings, but whenever you have a Bria Sa'ilam, right? We know the Medrash tells us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was Boina Eilamus Machrivan, right? Till before Bereshis Bar Elikim in our Bereshis. Before that, there was HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chazal used a lashon of Boina Eilamus Machrivan, which means that in the process of Bria, in order to get an Eilam to a certain state that you want it to be for Bnei Adam to be Oved HaKadosh Baruch Hu properly. In the Seder of Hishtalshus of Bria, HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a process, it breaks down, breaking down gives you Kalim. Once you have Kalim, now you could start building a world that's more Gashmis, right? The big trick in building a world from Yesh Me'ayin is, how do you get Yesh Me'ayin, right? Yesh Me'ayin Timatze, right? How does that happen? Right? The answer is a process called the Bain Oilus Machrivan. You make Kalim Dakim, very ruchnis type of kalim. You fill them up with R, which is kula R. The kalim can't be soivel to R. The kalim break, they fall. There's a shear. Once there's a shear, kalim that are broken are more gas. They're more gashmius than the original keli. And this is a process of making gashmius and making a new velt. It doesn't mean that the new velt per se is going to be on a lower madrega per se, but it means the process of creating a world is always going to have to have a chorban before it, in order to rebuild, to be in the mass that needs to be. Okay, so it's interesting. Normally, when you have Bain Eilamus Machrivan, the idea is that you're making Eilamus on lower levels, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say his Eilam of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is all the way up here, Lamashal, right? And in order to get something more gashmis, you have to come lower, and every time you machriv, things fall to a lower level, and you can rebuild from there. It falls to the next level. Over here, I want to possibly say is Shimon Yochai is making the world a new world. It's a world that all of a sudden it is being upgraded. You have to be baina olam umachrivan. You machiv the olam. You have to have some sort of korban, and you can rebuild it with a deeper a more intense ability to understand the Kadosh Baruch Hu. They could connect it. You could connect it Kedusha even greater. Now, is this moving up or moving down? It would appear that it's moving up, but maybe you could describe it as also moving. The olam is moving down, and at the same time, in its moving down level, you have an ability to perceive HaKadosh Baruch Hu even greater, for whatever the reason may be. Because the world comes from a chayshich dika spot, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes more apparent, like a mashal nowadays. And when I was growing up, Yiddishkeit was a lot less compelling than it is now. You know what I'm saying? Because the world of the Goyim was a Welt, right? You could understand what's so bad. I remember as a kid, my Rebbe in 5th grade. He's just nifted in the Shom Havon Aliyah. He would be talking about how television is terrible. It's terrible, right? It's so terrible. It's so terrible. And I look at him, you also don't have a television. It's not so terrible. It's just entertainment. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't know what he's talking about. The guy that had some sort of semblance of normalcy. Right, so all of a sudden, the Yisron Me'arm and Achayshich, the Yiddishkeit is not contrasted so much as being so much brighter than the ideals of the American dream. However, nowadays it's just like you got to be nuts. You got to be crazy. It's suicidal to let your kid watch the television. Let your kid to get involved in any program. You don't have to be a frummy for that. You have to be normal. You know what I'm saying? So the emphasis when Olamas of Machma, they fall to a lower level. All of a sudden, the Yisrim and Arman Achayshah, the Gila of Kadosh Baruch Hu, becomes so much more apparent. So Ken Zayin, the fact that I want to tell you that B'Shem Yechai was being machadish a Welt of Pneumius and a Welt of being able to perceive HaKadosh Baruch Hu as mamash einan levadai, right? Thus Ken Zayin, it's even more apparent when there is the olam is taka brought down to the next level. So what time is there? B'Shem Yechai is being machadish an olam chadash. Before every olam chadash, what happens by Bria? We say HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'ayin olam machrivan. Bria starts before you have a Bria. There's a Ruach Elokim Rachefes al Panei Hamayim. So you have Churban, and you have Kula Mayim. What happens to what comes here beneath? You have a Charav, right, which is connected to Churban, the Olam of Churban, of the Olam that's Nechrav. By the Olam Machrim, that's the Charav, that's the the rembers of the Karabchi. And the Mayim is the Mayim, the Ruach Elokim Rachefes al Mayim. Shimba Yechai comes into Welt and Naya Welt. Who's the Shimba Yechai? It's of Adam Rishon. Does Adam Rishon wear clothes? No. Not wearing clothes. He spends his entire day not wearing any clothes. His Avodas Hashem, his mom's like other Rishon. That's just just maybe you don't like that one? That's just maybe just a way of looking at the massive that he's in. He's in a massive of total transformation. Just to plug this into B'derech Avodah, where we're holding and the simcha of Lag Ba'im. The simcha of Lag Ba'im is really, everybody knows, Olam Hazeh is one big miserable experience. It is. Olam Hazeh is miserable. That's a fact, right? And if without Reb Shimon Yochai peeling away the Olam Hazeh, no, there's that's every place you dig and open up and you might say nefesh and you connect to Torah, the art just comes pouring out, and the ability to connect to literally mundane zachen and or to understand that that everything that goes on in this world, the emunah that comes out from all the pnimis that when you learn pnimis Torah, the emunah just becomes, the world becomes malay chalarts kavayde. The world becomes much more an einan levada. You see a person. You don't see flesh and blood. You see that. Right? This was pnimis Torah. When a person learns pnimis, he doesn't see. He looks in the mirror. He doesn't see two eyes. He sees 10 times Shem Havaya. Each eye is 5 times Shem Havaya. He looks at his hands. And he sees koyach masav higel la'amay. Loss of nachas goyim. He sees the koyach of the yad yamin. Yad small. He sees hegvurus. He sees chasadim hegvurus. He knows b'sarich shalika. And Memele, he looks at his head, his rosh. He knows he has moich and he has chabad. He knows shechina l'malam miroshi. This is what he's megalit us. And this is really literally the lifesaver of Klal Yisrael. And that's why as the Darius gets smaller and smaller, we mentioned this in the past, but I think it's obvious. The more there is everyone is reaching out for this raft that Shimon Yochai floated out to Klal Yisrael, which we know is being able to cut through all the mirage of Olam Hazeh, and because Torah and Pshat is Torah b'derech Pshat is really it's b'derech Pshat is being Isaac and Olam Hazeh, and yes, a person has to be Isaac and Torah b'derech Pshat, and every mitzvah you have to be Isaac nefesh for. But while you're Isaac in Sarach Olam Hazeh, when you're Isaac b'chai Isha, right? The Reb Shimon Bar Yochai gives us the ability to understand that in Chai Isha, b'emes we can be davak in Chai Olam. That was that's the message that I think that's a massive that Shimon Yochai is. There's a new bria going on over here that the world is coming to a new massive where HaKadosh Baruch Hu's kedusha becomes much more apparent. In this vein, I was thinking. I'm sure people have said this. I didn't even get a chance to look around to see if anyone made these points. It's a very obvious point, but. I mean, a lot of the points are obvious. Just the angle I want to put on it. A lot of the points are said, but the angle that I want to put in, I'm sure was also said. Look at the Gemara here. Shimon Yochai. So what's he doing? He's learning all day. Without any clothes. He puts on his clothes. Why? To daven. Right? To daven, you have to put on your clothes. I'm not sure why he couldn't stay in the ground to daven. Right? But for whatever reason, his tefillah needs hachana. Right? It needs begadim, big dekuna, like avodah needs begadim maybe, but for whatever reason it is, for learning he was fine. Because tefillah just actually chasas liba. So if he's covered, right, he has to have a liba rose ever. He could press some sand around his waist. You know what I'm saying? But whatever it was for tefillah, he went out to get dressed. He's learning all day, and all of a sudden he's going to daven. Shimon Yochai doesn't daven. Gemara and Daf Yud Aleph says, right? Right? That's a tirasim nasan, right? They're not mafsik for anything, right? The Mepharshim bring a raya, right? Not only are they not mafsik, they're not allowed to be mafsik, right? They're mechuyev not to be mafsik. If you're Isaac and Torah, you're not allowed to be mafsik in for tefillah. Gemara and Daf Yud tells us, right? Rava Chazer of Hamnuna. Right, that Rabbi Chazer Rav Hamnuna, the Kamarach B'Tzlusi, Rabbi Rav Hamnuna, he's davening along Shemon Esrei. Omar, he's telling him, what are you doing? What are you davening along Shemon Esrei? Fine, you have to daven. You're not Shemon Yochai Chaver, but Manichi Chai Olam, Ba'isim Chai Yisha. Right? What are you doing? Your Torah is Chai Olam, and you're davening for Olam Hazeh. It's Chai Yisha. How can you do such a thing? Right? So Mela, that's the big kasha of Shimon Yochai. In Shabbos Aflam Gimel is Shimon Yochai sitting and learning the Ma'ara. Not only stam learning it, there's no doubt he's being machadish the grass the Chidushi Torah and the grass of Pnimis Torah and the Siyat Shema that he's having is mamish that there's the way Mayonas HaChacham are wide open and he's mafsik his learning. He's miniyach Chai Olam Ba'isip Chai Yisha and mamish the tainer of Rav had Rav Hamnuna is a gevaldik tainer of Rav Shimon Yochai. So the Abbas is Tais asked the kasha Daf Yud Aleph. Right, Tais asked the kasha. We see over here he davened, and for Taisus he didn't daven. He just said Kriya Shema because even a Talmud Chacham has to say Kriya Shema. Fact of Akiva Eger, right? He brings a raya from Taisus and Babakam Daf Tezvav. Tais over there has a shaila about Tais has a shaila over there about whether you have to be mafsik, whether you have to be mafsik. For Kriya Shema or for Tefillah, and Tais brings a raya. We see it says Litzluye. Litzluye means Tefillah. It doesn't mean Kriya Shema, right? So Rikiv Eger over there on Daf Yud Aleph, he takes it to the Tais in Baba Kama in Brachas Daf Tezvav that how could Tais say Litzluye means Kriya Shema? Tais himself is the Dayak Litzluye is Dafka Litzluye, and it's not Kriya Shema. So this kasha Tais asks. He says the Terech is Zuchar Daichik, but to stop to ask the kasha even starker over here in this Gemara. Let's look a little weiter in the Gemara. Shimon Yochai, he's in the cave 12 years. Eliyahu comes and tells him the Caesar died. When the Caesar dies, all the Gezeris are bottled. He's safe to come out of the Mara. So, also Eliyahu comes and pischa the Mara. So man loyde leBar Yochai. The case, so but the Gzeirasi, so he told them, Nafku, Shimon Yochai Blazer Shimon come out, Chazu Inish the Kakarbi Vizari. They see a person who's plowing and planting, right? They get all upset. What do they say? Amar, right? They tied on this guy. He's Michayel. What do you mean? You yourself the whole last 12 years. You're Michayel. That's Mamash Zelba Lashon as Rav, it's Rav Abnuna. And when it comes to davening, and you're not supposed to be doing this. Klapper you. This. You're not. You were sitting and learning Basmati. How could you be Michayel? So I was thinking about Pshat. And it's Pashut, I'm sure it said that B'Shim B'Yachai and B'Chaverv, under normal circumstances, Tefillah is Rabbanon, right? The Ramban says Tefillah is Rabbanon, B'Chlal Tefillah is Rabbanon. Tefillah is only Deraisa when a person is B'Shas Hakana. Mela, B'Shim B'Yachai calls man, life was regular, right? So not going to be M'nei Chai Olam and V'Yis B'Chai Yisha, especially when the Chai Yisha is only Rabbanon. Right? Why do you daven? You daven because the boy rachami. You need rachamis, right? There's a rabbanon that you need rachami. So you daven rach. What's rachami means? You need olam hazeh. You need to be taken care of. How can you daven for olam hazeh? You're Yisuf b'chay olam. Now if Shemay Yochai in the cave, he's in the matzav sakana. Now tefillah blibes in the raisa. Tefillah the raisa. That you don't say m'chay olam Yisuf b'chay yisha. Plus we can't talk about one say b'derech pnimis, a little pnimis, more pnimis. Chay olam of tefillah is a person who's thinking about himself. The chayisha of davening is what? Thinking about yourself, right? That's what chayisha is. You're thinking about your own dalet amos. You're thinking about your own car, your own house, your own feet, and your own teeth. You know what I'm saying? And that's chayisha. You know what I'm saying? And Torah is nitzchias. You're sitting and you can pull your mind away from nitzchias to think about chayisha. But when a person davens like the majeg of Rav Shimon Yochai, right, the davening of Shimon Yochai is bechal, nothing to do with me. That's all has to do with the Rebbeinu Shalom. The entire davening of a tzaddik is bemis. He doesn't give a care about himself. Right, the Indian we haven't got to. We're going to get to it in a few days about in Chassidus. Right, the kavanah of a chassid in his avodas Hashem, nothing to do with me. It's all for you, Rebbeinu Shalom. I just feel fortunate that I could do something for you. So the tefillah of a tzaddik is in a madrega of a chassid by Yochai. His tefillah is on a madrega of chay olam. You're going to say, so what was until now, right? So Mikad Zogin, right? The madrega that he reached in the Ma'ara was where he taka reaches madrega of Chassidus. He was working on Tehillas, his Rizos, Nikiyas until then. And when he got to the Ma'ara, when he broke out this new madrega, all of a sudden his tefillah became a Chaye Olam. That's going to be a way to say the Derech Pashtus. To say a little more optimistic, would say it as a. Now Michal says a person needs to learn Kol Torah Kula. Learning Torah is Be'ikar Lil Ma'anamas Lasis. When you learn Torah with halachas, you have to know how to do all the mitzvahs. You have to know the Torah perfect. However, the highest level of Torah is not the Lil Ma'anamas Lasis. The highest level of Torah is Torah Lishma Mamish, to bring Nachas Ruach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the highest level of learning Torah is Zakir Amchal, when a person learns the Torah of Rav Shimon Yochai, the Torah of Nister, right? And he has the ability of being Miyachid Yichudim, sitting and being Miyachid Yichudim, which means making the cheshbainis of all the shemus of the Torah, Kulish Ma'aser HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and a person who learns Torah with the Pnimis HaTorah that Rav Shimon Yochai was megal to us, he's learning Kulei Shemus HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he's miyachid all the shemus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does it mean? He's miyachid shemus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It means he's sitting and literally taking all the chorbanis and be misaking all the klippers and all the nitzites that need to be gathered up, and through his Torah learning, he's making Hashem's name Shalom. He's making the belt Malchus Shleima. And Zakir Amchal, this Torah learning, a Torah of being Yachid Yichudim, this is the greatest Torah learning. The Mela Tefillah for Rav Shimon Yochai, which is one big Yichud, right? All the Yichudim, all the Kavanas that Rav Shimon Yochai Kfi Majigasa would understand. It's not a different pursuit than Torah. It is literally, it's his Torah Lishma. It's literally taking all the pnimis that he has in Torah and applying it l'maisef to make the tikkunim darch the Yichudim of the Torah that he learned. So Mela, Klapi Rav Shimon Yochai, his tefillah l'chai would be pasha that it's a zavachai olam, because it was being built. It was a lemaisa. It was the maisa of his Torah learning that was coming out in his kavanas. just curious with what was just maybe start of art. It's a little bit late, but just start of art based on this man of Lag Ba'omer and the emphasis in the Lailam of Pshat. Lag Ba'omer is a different sugya. It's a sugya in Yevamos, Daf Samach Beis and Beis, right? That Gemara tells us Kiva Omer Lamei Torah b'Yaldusai Yilmei Torah b'Ziknusai. Right? Lamei Torah b'Yaldusai Yilmei Torah b'Ziknusai. Hayulei Talmidim b'Yaldusai Yulei Talmidim b'Ziknusai. Sheneva Baika Zara Zarecha. Amrush, right? So Rabbi Kiva says, don't give up, right? You had Talmidim who are younger. Don't worry, you get older, you'll also Bez Hashem have Talmidim. Amrush, name Asar Elef Zugim Talmidim Hailel Rabbi Kiva. Kiva had 12,000 Talmidim. Migevis had Antifras. V'kulam Mesu Perak Echem Mesu Leinagu Kavis Habezeh. Oyolam Sham Machabar Rabbi Kiva Yitzchak B'Sein Shebedar Misham Lehem. Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua. Shimon ben Yochai was one of the Talmidim who Rabbi Kiva gathered up after on his second go around, Biziknusai, right? And the emes is right. The Noilam of Halacha, Yemei Sfira has to do Yemei Avelos for the Mises of Talmidim of Rabbi Kiva, and the Kula Mesu, right? B'Pesach, Kula Mesu b'Pesach v'Aratzeres. And Lag Ba'omer, they stopped dying. Okay, so Lag Ba'omer seems to be a tikkun for this man of the Misa of Talmidei Rabbi Kiva. Shleinogu Kavod Zeh Bozeh. Huh? I had a suffix about it. I don't remember. I had a cheshbon and I was specific about it. I don't remember now, but I had a cheshbon. I have to look back at the archives. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm sure so it says, but I've had a cheshbon in the past. Just so interesting enough, right? So you have the first 32 days of Sfira is when Talmidim were nifter. Shleinogu Kavod Zeh Bozeh. Everybody wonders what is Shleinogu Kavod Zeh Bozeh. What type of avera is it? Shleinogu Kavod Zeh Bozeh. It didn't say that they insulted each other. It didn't say they said lashon hara about each other. It didn't say that there was a nos devarim amongst them. It doesn't say they had machlokes. All it says is they did not display proper kavod. For a lack of kavod, right? They need misa. What is the tikkun of the chavdal alafim? The tikkun is Rav Shimon bar Yochai v'chaveirov. Leinagu kavod zeh bozeh is the chayra. It's not an einish, right? But like we're describing, the world had to be gotten to a new place. We needed a new world over here. We're bringing the world to a new place. It's going to be a new B'rias Olam. You know where B'rias Olam starts from? B'rias Olam starts from Chachma. Bereishis bar elikim, Targum state b'Chachmasa. Targum Yishalmi state b'Chachmasa bar elikim. Right? B'rias Olam starts with Chachma. Chachma has lamed beis nesivos hachachma. Okay, Lam Beis Nesivos HaChachma. Why the Lam Beis Nesivos HaChachma? There's not for now, and I don't remember why it's Lam Beis Nesivos HaChachma. But there are Lam Beis Nesivos HaChachma, 32 paths for Chachma. So Chachma, the magic number for Chachma being Shalom, is Lam Beis. Chachma be'emes is Inyan from Kavod, right? Kavod Chachamim min Chalu. In order to have Chachma, you have to have Kavod. Not having kavod is not a chait, but it's a chesaron and chachma. In order to lamed beis nesivos hachachma to be shalem, in order for a person to be able to start a new olam with a new Torah chadash miti teitzei, which Rab Shimon bar Yochai v'chaver were bringing into the world, there had to be lamed beis nesivos hachachma had to be intact, and for that reason, right, kavod. The lack of kavod is the stira to where the world needed to be. So the mises of Talmidim of Rabbi Kiva, it's posh. It wasn't an einish, right? It was that avazai vayit. You're not doing what you need to be doing. We have to restart. You have to reset over here. Interestingly enough, I'm sure it said kavod is B'Gematria 32, right? Which is because that's what kavod is. Kavod is an offshoot. When Chachma is Kavod Chacham Chalu, when Chachma is intact with Lamed Beis Nesivos, then there's going to be the proper Kavod. Lack of kavod means the chachma is not intact. The first 32 days of Sfira is also, these are the kavod days, these are Lamed Beis Nesivos. It's reapplying the proper Lamed Beis Nesivos and Chachma and working on our midas to be Chachamim and to be Nagu Kavod Zebazeh. And with this, we put ourselves in a matzah that we are lag b'omer after reinstated the Lamed Beis Nesivos Chacham. We have the ability of moving into the Olam Chadash. Abshir B'Yechai brought in that could be zeicha to the gilui of the Gevaldik Iris, and this is the interesting. I could just leave you off the Maramach and the Bnei Yissaschar Maram Gimel lag b'omer Chedesh Iyar. He says he makes his point. The first Lamed Beis Yamim of Sfiras Omer are Lamed Beis Nesivos Chachma. The 17 days after the starting from Lag Baimer is the Taiv Yamim. Once you have Lamed Beis Nesivos Chachma, now the Yar Elokim is Arki Taiv. Now you can be Zeicha Taka the Emes R of Torah and have Torah with all the R, which for the fact the Shemeich's Torah is clearly just Kuli R without any of the Gashmius Kalim around it. And he sees, he gives a Joshua. He says he's the Mishnah in Mesachas Avos speaks down the Chamisha Talmidim Hayler Rabbi Yechim and Zakai, and he told them Tzuru, right? Eze Dech Yishar Eze. Let's go to the exact lashon. Right? What is derech taiv? So he says, "Vayar lekim is arki taiv." You want to know what taiv is? You have to look at the shirish of taiv. The first time Torah says taiv, the vayar lekim is arki taiv, and all the Talmidim were being dervish at taiv, and vayar lekim is arki taiv. Rabbi Elazar ben Aruch said leiv taiv, which Rabbi Yochanan Zaka said that he's kyle everything. Leiv taiv, he says leiv taiv is there's 32 words, and R is the 33rd word. And so leiv taiv is vayar lekim is arki taiv. The Lamed Beis Nesivos Chachma that go up to the entire Lamed Beis Nesivos Chachma, which bring you to the type Haganas in the Ar Haganas. This is Rabbi Elazar ben Aruch was being meramis to, which male the Lamed Beis Nesivos Chachma is going to be type. It could be all the midas types of the previous Tanaim. That's why his Shebechal Dvar Devreichem. And male, this is how he describes it. The Bnei Yissaschar. So you can look at it more in details. But this is what he's saying. That the Indian Lamed Beis Yamim is reinstating Chachma the way it's meant to be, developing the kavod, which is ultimately the kavod is ultimately we'll call it maybe the keli of Chachma, because kavod means that I've been garnished. I'm bottled to the Chachma. If a person haltzach hayesh, then he's obviously not a Chacham because the Chacham knows he's garnished. And as you think you're something, and you think you're better than someone else, so you have no shaychus to Chacham, you have no shaychus to Aratai, which is Gansan Ispatas Hakadosh Baruch Hu. You got some Shvitaka Zeicha to have a tremendous iris and connect to the Kedush Hayayim and to be uplifted to the Olam Chadash, to be Zeicha to be as God and Amen.